Welcome to the Jones Zone, a podcast by Darryl and JJ Jones.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Jones Zone. In this series, we're going to be talking to Alyse Adams. I'm so excited about this because I've known Alyse for longer than I've known anybody else that's been on this podcast. So when she agreed to do this, she's actually not a real estate agent in Arizona, but she's from Arizona. She moved from California. How long did you live in California, Alyse?
5.5 years I've been here in Arizona. I was born and raised in Southern California.
You were affiliated with my dad somehow. Were you a student teacher?
I was a paraprofessional in your father's class. So in his history class, I worked with the students who had learning disabilities that were in his class. I would work extra with them, read tests to them aloud and stuff like that. So it's called a paraprofessional. I did that in Brea for 11 years before I started teaching on my own. Your dad is one of the reasons why I teach.
I think it's fair to say if you were to ask him he thinks you are, probably one of the top 3 teachers he's ever met. I'm putting words in his mouth. I'm sure he would concur on that. But okay, let's get to the point here. So this is a series I'm doing. My wife came up with this idea because I'm doing series that are just real estate related. We have had so many clients move out of state. And my wife said, you should do podcasts with people who left California to another state and allow people to kind of get eyes on that and listen to what they have to say in terms of compare and contrast, being that you've lived in both, of course, Arizona and California. So that's what we're going to do. So where in Arizona are you? What city are you in? And then what metropolis or area are nearby?
So I am in Gilbert, Arizona. I'm about 25 minutes from the Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. So that's obviously in Phoenix. I'm not far from Phoenix. The Chandler, Gilbert area, when we first moved, we moved to Chandler. And then we were there for 3 years before we moved to Gilbert. And you know,
that's right.
Were part of that too, because you helped me with that.
Yeah, this is your second house in Arizona.
It is. And Gilbert Chandler is like taking Orange County and putting it in Arizona.
Wow. And we all love Orange County. So tell us, why did you move to Arizona?
So because teaching is my second career, my first career, of course, was being a mom. I was a para for 11 years. And when I got my teaching credential, there were more teachers in California than there were jobs. So I got my first teaching job about 2 weeks into the school year. At the time I applied, it said on the listing, the first 100 people to apply, and then it will be closed. And I was one of the 100 people, and I got the one job. There were jobs that I was one of 3,000 people going for one position. It was great when I got my first job. They told me it was only for a year. I got let go. In California, the rule is last one in is the first one out, which thankfully is not the rule in Arizona. And so it doesn't matter how good of a teacher you are. If you are the last one in and they need to cut, they're going to let you go. So every year I worked at a different school. I made new friends. I made new family friends, with the families of the kids that I taught, and I had to leave them. It was after my third school, and I had an interview in Diamond Bar, and it was going to be with one of my really, really good friends, Chris, that I wanted to work with so badly. And the day of the interview, they called and they canceled the interview because they had an interdistrict transfer, and those take precedence. And I just said, I can't do this anymore.
And so what happened?
Well, my sister at the time had just bought a house in Tennessee. Her husband and her were retired. He was just retiring. So they bought a house in Tennessee on a beautiful lake. I know that you know my story. We have had some serious deaths in our family. And when my sister-in-law lost her son and her husband within 3 months of each other, we had to fly up to Spokane each of those times. And it was an emergency, and you pay a lot of money to go fly as an emergency. And so I had said to him, I think it's time for us to leave California, but I don't want to go anywhere that we cannot drive home if we need to be. So Arizona was the place we had talked about. Yeah.
Yeah, the proximity to California. So I have a series of questions that I ask that I think anybody who's contemplating moving out of California would want to know. So that was a personal reason you moved from California to Arizona. What are the biggest differences between California and Arizona that you've noticed?
Number one is traffic. We go back to California every 4 to 6 weeks. The traffic is insane. And I know people say there's traffic everywhere, but I'd rather sit in traffic for 20 minutes than an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
On Sunday, when I go to church, I'm not sitting in traffic, but in California, I was. And shout out to Refuge OC. We'd go to Refuge OC in the Orange Circle. We would hit traffic on Sunday morning, every morning, just to go down there. That's one of the biggest things we notice. And there's fewer people here. Although it is getting busier, there are fewer people here. It's a very peaceful lifestyle here. I left because of the teaching part. I've got a job. I'm well respected in my job. I can pick where I want to work. It's just a different environment.
Traffic's actually been one of the big causes. Well, traffic and everything, just the busyness of California has been a big reason. You used to be able to time the 91 and 57 and time it where certain hours you can go and not have to worry about traffic. I think those have been dwindled down to 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. So that's a compelling reason to move. So tell us what surprised you about Arizona. Anything surprises that you got when you did get to Arizona?
Yeah, the cost of living, obviously, which has changed because when the prices started going crazy all over, 2 years ago, prices of housing and things have gone up here. Overall, the cost of living, of course, is less than it is in California. My house that I have here, I have a beautiful home. I absolutely love my home. Would be $1.5 million in California. It's a big difference in the way you live. The cool thing is, like I said, it's like having Orange County in Arizona. We have palm trees and we have grass and we have, people think of Arizona as I did, where it's this dry, deserty looking place. But it's not necessarily this dry, deserty looking place, depending on where you live. So I enjoy that. And there's so much to do here.
The weather, one of the big concerns for Orange County residents, because California and Arizona, of course, have a lot of desert in them. So tell us how you've been able to handle that. Has it been that extreme? We have our big 3-digit days in California as well, but how's the heat been?
The heat definitely is a factor. It doesn't bother me because I tend to be cold often. It's extremely hotter, but extremely colder. So there are days in January when I go to work and it's 33 degrees outside, and I'm not used to that in California. It gets very cool here in the upper 20s and the lower 30s at night. But in the summer, it gets really hot. And when people say, how do you deal with that? I turn on the air conditioner or I go in my get in the boat. And instead of like in California, where you have to drive 4.5 hours to get to water, that's good water. We drive 50 minutes to one of 3 different lakes and we can drop our boat in that amount of time. And we boat a lot more out here because of that.
If you love to go boating, Arizona could be the place for you. Now let's talk about the taxes. How are the taxes? Let's start with property taxes.
Property taxes, about 2/3, a little less than 2/3 of what we paid in California. Our insurance, like our car insurance, is much lower. To get your car smogged is $17. You can register your car 2 years at a time. Some of those things are crazy. Like when you go to get your car smogged and they're like $17, I'm like, not 67?
How are the utilities there? Because that's something that California has seen a dramatic rise in utility costs. How are utilities in Arizona?
Utilities are good. In Arizona, we have many, many more houses that are 1-stories. I've only owned 1-stories here, which in California, those 1-stories go on the market and they get grabbed up, especially the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Huge demand. Here, you can get a 1-story fairly easily. And so that's a difference because I don't have a 2-story house. But I have my level pay plan. And I pay about half of what I paid in California for my level pay plan. It's a noticeable difference. It's why we had said we did hire in California. We could afford to, but we wouldn't have had a life.
Right.
Because we knew we wanted to retire out of California. We just came here and started a life here first.
It's obviously going well. Arizona seems like it's probably has a very robust economy and a lot of diversity as far as jobs. Is that fair to say where you're at? You've got basically your industries and economy has got everything. Or I don't want to put words in your mouth. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. Because one of the things is the fact that we have like Intel and some of these bigger companies out here that are very, very big. We have Northrop Grumman out here. And because of the cost of living and property and stuff like that, you have some of these bigger companies. We have massive Amazon facilities out here as well. So you have a lot of that is excellent for the economy. As far as teachers, we are paid less than we are in many states. We are in the bottom 5 as far as when it comes to pay. I work in the number 1 district in all of Arizona. Recently has been determined, it is always was for the Valley, but in all of Arizona, Chandler Unified School District is the number 1 school district. And I still took a large pay cut when I came here to teach.
But with the cost of living, and of course, Carl, your husband, Carl, we went to high school, the same high school together. He's got a job that allows him he doesn't have to be in a particular area. He can move wherever he wants.
Not anymore.
Oh.
This is another great happened. My husband he was scouted for a position 3 years ago. He went to work for a company that had fought hard to get him, and he now is managing all of these sales for his company. So He's a vice president of sales at his company, and he is loving it. And he does financially makes more than he did in California.
So overall, though you're getting paid less, let's say for teaching in California, the cost of living is so much less. Relatively speaking, you're good. You're better.
Yes. I would love for teachers to be able to be paid what we deserve. We're
Sure.
good. I don't know how some of the housing prices have really gone up here. There's a lot more demand here. A lot more people are moving here. Although when we moved here, you could say that it's not quite as different as it was then. And so I don't know how some of these, I've got friends who both of them are teachers, and God bless them, because it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, people ask me here all the time, you have a 3-bedroom house that goes for $1 million. And the sellers even ask me, who's buying these? How are they buying them? I said, all I know is they've checked their credit. It's wonderful. Their income's wonderful. They have low debt. And I don't know what they do, but whatever it is, they do it very, very well. So what is there to do in Arizona? You talked about boating. You love to go boating. I met you because my girls have a volleyball tournament in Phoenix well, not every year, but they kind of have. They've had it quite a few when we met there. So you're close to Phoenix, and we were right by the baseball stadium. What's the darn name of that stadium?
The Diamondbacks. That's where the Diamondbacks play.
But you've got a lot of sports teams, so you've got that there, correct?
Yeah, it's been awesome. So because the Diamondbacks play at Chase Field, and we have where the Suns play, we have where the Arizona Cardinals play, which is in Glendale, Arizona. I'll say this as nicely as I can. Because the Cardinals aren't as strong as some other teams.
Like who?
The season prices are pretty low. So we bought season tickets this year just to go to some of the games. Plus they play my team, San Francisco 49ers, and my husband's team, Dallas Cowboys. And so we had our tickets for those games as well. So that's really fun. You can go kayaking because there are several lakes that are really close. You can go boating. There are like raft places where you can go rafting. There are wonderful mountains where people hike. Often hiking is a really big thing here. We have the Grand Canyon. We're Arizona. I mean, it's a different part of it, but we still have the river and Havasu and all those. So,
and this is something that oftentimes the Californians that I'm working with, retiring because for obvious reasons. How's the medical care there? Any thoughts on that? Is it easy? It's there. Plenty of doctors.
As you know, I've had many surgeries on my feet in the last 2 years. I've found some wonderful doctors. I really would say it's comparable to California. Things are close. So I know that when people are retiring, one thing that my sister looked for is how close doctors and hospitals are to where you're going to live. Again, it's so much like when I lived in Orange County that everything is very similar relative to location and stuff like that. Big hospitals, places that you can go, cancer facilities and things like that. So there's no shortage of finding good quality medical care out here. We don't have HMOs the same way we do in California. And I do miss that. I liked my HMO. I liked the prices. PPOs are my thing out here, but it's not hard to find doctors and good medical care out here.
So that part's easy. And here I go asking a teacher, how are the schools, including the colleges? Obviously, your school, you brought them to number one. Let's go ahead and state a fact. And then what about the universities, the colleges?
Yeah, so we have ASU, U of A, and NAU that are the colleges that are here that are the bigger colleges here in Arizona. And then we have some of the community college. Mesa Gilbert is a big one out here. We have really good schools. We have good school districts in this area. I love the diversity that we have in our school district in Chandler Unified. Gilbert, another great. Kyrene. We're surrounded by really good schools. I know in California, like Yorba Linda Unified School District, excellent school district. Chandler is very similar to that. Gilbert is very similar to that. Strong school districts, large school districts. Brock Purdy, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Had to get them in there.
In Chandler, Arizona. So that's a good thing. We have a lot of kids who get picked up and go to college and farther from some of our high schools here in Chandler. Chandler High School, Hamilton, Perry. Those are some of the bigger high schools, much larger than what I was used to. So I went to Canyon High School in Anaheim Hills. I think we had like 2,400 students. Some of these high schools are up to 4,000 students.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where is it in proximity of the state, just for listeners that are not sure where Phoenix is? Is that in the northern set, the southern section of Arizona, the western, the eastern? Where are you in the state?
Darryl, that's an excellent question. Let's look on the map. I think
In
we're
the
kind
middle?
of in the middle. I think so. It's hard to see in here, but yeah, I think we're kind of middle of the state.
I have these series of questions for all states. It's funny, this next question I have doesn't probably pertain to Arizona as much, insects, but you probably have other critters. Is there any problems with any rattlesnakes or anything like that, or any critters?
I'm happy and proud to say that we are in the middle of the state. Critters, yeah. So mosquitoes, every mosquito in Arizona finds me. I never had a problem in California. They love me here. So that's been a trick. Arizona is known for scorpions. Scorpions, when they sting you, apparently, and I have been very blessed not to have been stung, they sting like your toe. Your whole leg will go numb for hours and hours. Like, it's very debilitating. Apparently, it hurts like a son of a gun.
Well, at least you don't die. I mean, I think of maybe naively think of scorpions and I think, oh, goodness. I'm guessing you have to get to the hospital within a certain amount of time, correct?
Yes. Yes. They're evil. And they're
Not a
these little, they're
Scorpions fan.
usually, no, they're evil. Scorpions are the one thing that I have, like I said, I have not had a problem with, but I know people who have it. It can get pretty serious.
Wow. Yeah, I found scorpions at my house. So, I mean, Californians are not immune. We have scorpions here. Yeah, at least they look like scorpions. I'm not a entomologist. Is that what it's called? I don't know. I think they're scorpions, but okay, so nothing really dramatic. I mean, similar to California, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like some states I've talked to people who, they've got these, gosh, someone said that we've got insects the size of birds in certain states.
Oh, no. No, very much that part of it is like California, more mosquitoes, and that's for like a period of probably 3-4 months. So you need to be careful. Like, I always have stuff on when we're going to go hiking or things like that. We always put stuff on so that we don't get eaten by the mosquitoes.
What's the drive from your house back to Orange County? 5-hour drive, 7-hour drive?
It is 5 hours and 20 minutes with one stop. We stop at the same place every time and get gas and get some food. So you can get back in 5. And honest to God, if there was an emergency, unfortunately, my father passed away last year in April, and I just did an emergency flight. It's 58 minutes up and down, and that's the easiest way, but you can get home in 5 hours.
Oftentimes something that is desirable for Californians. So do you have any advice for any Californians who are considering to move to Arizona? Any advice that you have? You don't have to have advice, but if you have some.
I would say do your homework. When we moved out here, I wanted to move to Peoria. It's a beautiful area. I called the school district, spoke to the most wonderful lady who literally kind of told me after speaking to me for 20 minutes, honey, I don't think this is the area for you, because it's a smaller area. There's a lot of retired people there, but it's smaller school districts and things like that. And I was really glad she did. Find someone, if you can, find someone you know that's moved there. I was blessed to have my friend Robin, who used to live right there in Brea, born and raised in Brea, raised her kids until they were in junior high, and then they moved out here to Arizona. Her mom and dad, her mom worked at Air Vista.
Oh, Air Vista,
in the
yeah.
front office. And Robin Warner, when I had started looking, she had lived here for 13 years, and she was a real estate agent. And she's the one who would say, based on what I know about you, this is, I think, a good area for you, Chandler Gilbert. And it has been such a blessing and such a change. And my son, Chad, who's still in California, said, Mom, within months of you moving there, you are so much more chill. I can see a difference in you. So it may not be for everyone. This was a wonderful move for us. I wouldn't go back because it's not as good for me as far as stress-wise and stuff to be in California. California is absolutely wonderful. I will never tell anyone different than that. But there are great places to live that aren't in California too.
I've gotten that a lot from people who have moved from California to other states. And they say it's just so much less stress. It's so laid back. And the traffic's probably part of that, even subconsciously possible, that being late because of whatever. But I've heard that a lot. That's probably what a lot of our listeners, well, both of them, are desiring. So do you know anything? Thanks for laughing. Do you know anything about the real estate? I mean, I do this in a mix with real estate agents and friends. So I know you're not a real estate agent. So do you know a lot about the real estate market? Is it a seller's market right now in Arizona, 2023, the end of 2023? Buyer's market, neutral market? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. I have a lot of friends that I bunko with because real estate agents are common as 7-Elevens are in California. It's very similar to California. Very, very similar. Our highs came at the same time. Things started changing and going down a little bit at the same time. I'm used to California as far as you're used to making money after several years. We bought here and sold 3 years later, almost exactly to the date, and made nearly $300,000 on that house. That was when we're going crazy, like in California. You and I spoke about this.
Right.
And then this house, and we ended up getting a great deal on this house. So people aren't necessarily upside down at all, but things have definitely mellowed out. You know, I watch you on social media, and it's very similar in that we've got the interest rates higher, but there's less available on the market right now, especially as the incomes, through right now, right? With the holidays, I would say it's kind of both. I would say it's probably a neutral market. I don't know how you feel about how California is at this time, and I'd love to hear that. But I think it's kind of a neutral market. If someone wants to sell, they're going to make their money, but it's not like they're going like hot potatoes like they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's similar to California right now. I mean, still, it's very inventory driven. There's just a lack of inventory. So that part's kind of unfortunate for a lot of buyers, but it has definitely slowed. In fact, I don't know if you know who Dave Ramsey is, but he had I don't know if he came up with it, but I think he did. His first time I heard it, he says, date the rate and marry your house. And what he's meaning by that is one of the cool parts about these rates going up is it's caused the market to slow down a little bit and give a lot of buyers more choices. It wouldn't be unusual for me to get 50 offers on a house. In fact, that was much more common. And now it's instead of 50 offers, you're getting 5 offers on a house when it's priced properly. So, and buyers can, they're not forced to buy a house in 2 seconds and also get something that they don't really, really, really love. There's just a few more choices. So it's a little bit better for buyers at the moment. And his advice was just buy the house because you get better choices now. And then if rates do go down, then you could refinance at that time. I just would never tell anybody that rates are guaranteed to go down. I mean, we don't know for sure. Most people think they'll probably go down for certain reasons, but it's not guaranteed. So I would never tell anybody. Obviously, they need to be comfortable with that payment in case that's the payment they're stuck with, for lack of a better term, for a while. But that's one benefit of a slowing market. What would you say would be the average cost of, let's say, a 3 or 4 bedroom, single story house, 2,000 square feet, in the area that you live in Arizona? Or you name the house. It doesn't really matter. I just took that out of the blue.
Where we live, 2,000 square foot with property, you get a little bit more property depending. You're not going to be less than 750 up to $1 million. So you can buy a house that's 2,400 square feet with a small yard and you'll pay $720. But if you want to have any kind of a bigger yard, kind of a more decent size yard, you're going to be up over 800,000. You don't have to pay $1 million to get a house out here.
A lot more newer construction there, I'm guessing.
A lot of new construction. We have a lot of new construction out here. So just like when things started moving out in California and things started going down the 91 and you were getting off at Green River now and you were going down towards the 15 and people were moving out towards Temecula and Menifee and those places. It's expanding that way as well. So there's a place called Queen Creek. Queen Creek is getting much more popular. You can get bigger pieces of land out in Queen Creek, but it's far. So It is like me driving to Moreno Valley or Menifee area, whereas it's not as desirable unless you're going to create a life out there. But the building is just going crazy.
So pick your poison. You either get a nice lower price, and of course that's what they do here as well.
Absolutely. In Orange County, the house that I used to live in, we look them up every so often, the last 2 houses that we had.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking my house would sell for $1 million right now, and it's not worth $1 million right now. But it's because of where it sits in California.
Are you talking about your Orangewood or your Belinda?
Yep.
Yeah, your Orange.
Orangewood.
Oh gosh, I loved that house. That was such a beautiful, right near Mariposa Elementary School in Brea, and they did. Boy, that was just a stunning house. However, it wasn't, 3,000 square foot house on an acre, but it did have a big lot. It had a beautiful backyard on that house.
Big lot with the big pie shape, but it was a 1,400 square foot house. It was, we had redone the whole house. The people still live in it that had bought it. Our other house in Yorba Linda, the one we sold for $875, I think listed right now for close to what, not listed, but, Zillow, whatever. 1.2, 1. Like, wow. So if I took my house right now, which is 3,000 square foot on a third of an acre, and plop that down in California, I could make some bucks.
Yeah, that's without a doubt. And that's one of the reasons I'm doing this series, because the beauty about growing up, let's say in California and even specifically Orange County, but all of California, is you do kind of get to have the pick of the litter when you go to retire and you want to go to Arizona or you want to go to Utah or Texas or Massachusetts or wherever. And you get to do that, which is, a beautiful thing. However, of course, you want to be pretty sure you're going to be pretty staying, because it would be hard to get back to California. But
right. Such a great point you made. It would be hard to go back to California, not because necessarily people couldn't afford it. It's because you don't want to have to afford it. If I can live somewhere else, less money. Again, California, wonderful, beautiful, because just like you and me, we were both born and raised there. It's all we knew. So we made that work. For other people who just come to California, they think we're insane because we pay these prices. But when it's all you knew, you did it and you made it work. Now we live in Arizona. We understand that difference. We get our gas on the Arizona side for $1 less a gallon. And I'm in Maricopa County. We have the highest gas in Maricopa County than any other county in Arizona, because it's not gas taxes. It's the regulations that Maricopa County puts on our gas. And so we have this gas here, but we pay for it.
Right.
That makes a difference. You do have to go and investigate. You do have to do your homework. You do need to go sit down and talk to people if you're going to be working, and make sure it's going to be a good place for you, because it's not for everyone. If you are uncomfortable in heat, yes, it is 115 for sometimes 2 months at a time. It doesn't change. I'm fine in air conditioning. I walk where I need to go. I park at the grocery store. There's covered parking, and then I go inside and it's freezing anyway, because, I'm always cold. You have to know that that's going to be the climate where you want to live. And you have to do your research.
One thing that's kept this season really mellow in California, at least in my opinion, is we've had a really, in the evening time, it's cooled down here, which is, gosh, what a dramatic help it is. So rather than being 95 during the day and then 85 at night, or 80, it's gotten down to 60 degrees at night. How are the evenings there in Arizona? It's still hot at night too, correct? In that 2-month period. No?
Oh, that 2-month period for sure.
Yeah.
So when we're at 115, we're at 85 at night. But it's a cooler, we don't have the humidity. So right now we're in our low 50s at night. By next week, we'll start getting in the upper 40s at night. So during the day, we're in about the 70s, but at night, we're getting much cooler. I personally love the monsoon season. It is so cool because we get these monsoons that come through, and it'll be pouring rain for an hour, and then it goes away. And it's really cool. And that happens in the summer.
My daughter went to college in Hawaii. In fact, I've got a guest for Hawaii too. I'll be eventually doing, but that's how Hawaii is apparently. They've got a very frequent, I think it rains almost every day there, but it's just for 10 minutes.
Yeah, it depends on where you are. Timeshares in Kauai on Koipu Beach. And there are times when you'll just grab your towels and go up for 15 minutes, get something to eat, and come back out, and the sun is out, and you're like good to go.
You're absolutely correct. At least for me, that dry heat is much different than the high humidity heat of some of the southern states, because I've been in the high heat where it's low humidity and it's 105 degrees and it feels like it's 85 degrees. It's really kind of nice, frankly.
I agree. When it gets hot, it gets really hot. It's not going to kill you. It's hot. Put up your window guard in your car when you get in. We all have remote start. So you remote start your car and everything's good.
Oh, yes.
Not that big a deal.
All right. Is there anything I didn't ask that I probably should have asked?
No, I don't think so. I love your sense of humor, as you know. You do a great job. I love that you're bringing to light that there are other places to live that aren't in California, but it doesn't make California not wonderful. It's just nice to hear other people take on how it has been. Not everyone moves away and has a great outcome. It just depends. But I love that you see that you're kind of opening that window. We call them windows and mirrors, what is offered out there in the world and what will fit for you.
Well, especially like I was mentioning, California, you just have that luxury of being able to really go to almost anywhere in America, find yourself a nice house. So I think that concludes all the questions I have for you for now. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I hope Alyse has been able to help any of you that are thinking or considering moving to Arizona. It sounds like it's a very similar state to California, so it would be probably not as much of a change as some other states.
You have been a godsend even here. I called you when we were selling that house and moving to this one. And I remember you telling me, Alyse, you've always taken plunges that I wasn't willing to take. So if you really want it, do it. And I did. I did every single thing that you had suggested. And it has been a godsend. I appreciate your friendship, but I appreciate your knowledge. You have to be one of the most honest, loyal friends and just people that we have in our life. And we appreciate you very much.
You're more than kind. I'm going to start blushing here. Oh, I'm feeling verklempt.
Don't you dare edit that out, because you're a wonderful real estate agent. I hope people see that in you.
Well, I appreciate that very, very much. So, all right. Well, this concludes another episode of the Jones Zone. I hope you found some value in this podcast and this video. And again, thank you very much. Contact me if you have any questions about this video or send me a text. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.